Well, I don't have to work out anymore. That's kind of nice. Although I should stay in a little bit of shape. It's been great this offseason, just like getting involved in these guys' offseason plans and developing player plans for these guys and trying to show them that we're in their corner and that we're not trying to make them do things, but that we want to see the best, get the best out of them, and then in turn get the best out of the team. So just reiterating that message throughout the offseason and seeing these guys show up here this week in really good shape and ready to go for spring training and saying I can't wait to get started. That's what it's all about.
How important is that with the WBC? And I know chemistry is a big thing for you, trying to get things moving faster. How do you do that in like an authentic way but still get the work in?
Yeah, I don't know about moving faster. It's just being more strategic with how we get these guys ready to play. And obviously the guys playing the WBC are some of our best players. They're on those teams for a reason, and we're going to miss them in spring training, but we're also going to get them ready so that they perform their best in that tournament, and they show like, all right, the Padres are mean in business this year based on how they perform.
When you're a relationship guy, how has it been going building these relationships with players that you already have because you were a teammate, changing that dynamic to now you're in charge?
Yeah, it's not too difficult right now because I've had to make a decision to make them mad. So right now it's kind of status quo. Just building off those relationships as I had with the player, but being able to ask them like certain questions, like one-on-one, that are team related and chemistry related, and make some changes that maybe they were afraid to voice in years past, that they feel comfortable letting me know and hoping I can make a difference in whatever they're asking from us.
Were you able to travel and meet with anyone, or how did you go about that relationship building in the off season?
Yeah, I was able to travel. I saw numerous players, not everybody, but got to go to the Dominican Republic for the first time in my life and see what that baseball obsessed country is like. That was pretty cool. Saw several guys there. Saw a lot of the guys in the Midwest where I'm from in Ohio. And was in Florida for the winter meeting, so got to see a couple guys down there too. So overall, it was just kind of building those relationships in the season and proving that I'm willing to go travel, take a plane flight, take a week away from my family to, spend some time with them and see what they're up to.
What did you take away from going to the DR and meeting with Tatis and the type of expectation that you have for him this season?
What I took away from going to the Dominican Republic is just like being there for the first time and seeing what it's really like, and me gaining perspective on that and how they grew up as people, what kind of food they eat, where their families live, where they live. I have a perspective and maybe a little bit better idea of why they do certain things and why they act a certain way, or just little different nuances that you can take to hopefully manage them in a better way. And I think expectations for Tatis, and maybe his expectations are going to be greater than mine, but I know that he's excited for this season. He's wants to be the best player in baseball, and that's what he's been working towards. I feel he's in a really good spot right now for that.
Who's your first baseman?
We have several guys that can play first base on our team right now. Right now, penciled in probably as our number one option is Gavin Sheets. Gavin's pretty excited about playing first base again. He played a lot of outfield last year, a little bit at first base, but played that coming up through the minor leagues. And we've got some great infield coaches and position coaches that have been working with him already this offseason. We've got him going, and we feel really good about a left-handed first baseman and him being able to do a few more things and being a really big target at first base. I know Manny and Xander are excited about that, being able to throw to somebody a little bigger, a little taller, maybe hopefully save them, a few overthrows. So along with him, we've got Will Wagner that can play first base. Sungwon Song, we're going to try over at first base. Obviously, Jake's played a lot of first base. Defensively, come in and be a guy that we trust over there. And there's guys like some of our NRIs that are probably going to play first base in spring training that have done it in the past, but we're trying to build a few guys that can kind of play a lot of different positions. And first base, we'll try it out and see what happens.
And playing at DH?
DH, at the current time, we've got a lot of guys that are competing for that spot. Obviously, Song is one of those guys we signed that could fit into that role. But it's probably a spot that we're going to keep open throughout the season, to be able to give Manny a day DHing, Xander a day DHing, Fernando, Laureano, Merrill. I think it's a strategic way to keep those guys a little fresher during the season. Do we have somebody that's like, this guy's the DH? No, we don't have that right now. But we got a lot of competition in spring training. It's going to be fun to see.
Luis Campusano, is that of options? How do you see him factoring in the plans?
Yeah, right now Campy's, probably the leading candidate to be one of the 2 catchers that we'll have on the roster when we break camp. He's done nothing but prove himself in AAA. I don't know what else he could do in El Paso that could, get him ready to be playing in the major leagues. And I think what he's needing right now is just an opportunity. And one thing that he and I have is he caught me, when he came up. And we had those talks of what it's like with a rookie catcher and a veteran pitcher. And at that time, I'm not thinking that this is going to happen later on in life, but I was able to put my arm around him and say, hey, I got you, man. We'll get through this together. And so we're doing the same thing right now. And I'm kind of excited about him having the opportunity to have a really good chance of making the team and being a part of our ball club and being someone that's going to, give us a super big advantage at the catching position and at the plate too.
Is first base an option for him too? I know he's batted a bit, or is he?
He played first base a little bit last year. I know you probably saw him walking around the field with first baseman. He didn't play first base, I don't think, in the big leagues last year. Played it in AAA. For me, he's a catcher, and that's where we see his biggest value. Is that something we try down the road? Maybe. But at the moment, he's going to catch a lot. You'll see him a lot in spring training catching. And then we also value his bat, too. Talking about the DH, like Campy could get some DH at bats also.
The fact that you are this closely removed from being in the dugout and being in the bullpen, does that give you a little bit of extra perspective, maybe understanding things about these guys that maybe you noticed when you were playing with them, maybe other people coming into the organization from the outside might not have that little information?
Yeah, I think so. And I think the way we tried to organize the coaching staff, past playing experience, younger, been in this new age of baseball, that was probably, weighed heavily in our decision making on who was going to be a part of the coaching staff. So all of us collectively, we have the ability to relate to the players of what they're going through. Kevin Plawecki can relate to Luis Campusano and Freddie Fermin on, what it's like to be a backup catcher and what it's like to, go through the grind of the season and not get playing time. And then all of a sudden you're facing, an ace pitcher on a Sunday afternoon and you've got to figure out a way to, get your pitcher through the game and then also maybe get on base somehow. And the list goes on, throughout our coaching staff. I think we're set up well in that to be, coaches, not physical coaches, but also mental coaches too, to be able to be, understand what's going through those players' minds on a daily basis.
With the modern day ball player and their mentality, how important is relatability from a coaching staff?
I think it's maybe the most important thing possible is just being able to put, it's hard to understand what it's like to walk in someone else's shoes. And I think this gives the staff that we built has the best opportunity to accomplish that.
How big is it for him to know and trust his position? Like if he fights and he gets that spot, how big is it as a backup catcher to trust that he's got that position for?
Yeah, I think every player wants to feel trusted by the people in charge, and that hey, I got this. And I think just from my past, Davey Johnson was one manager I had that made everybody on the 26-man roster feel like they had a specific role of how we were going to win a baseball game. And I was not the number one option on his team. I was probably in 21, 22, 23, 24. But I felt like there was a point where he would put me in the game and I was going to help the Washington Nationals win a baseball game that day. And it's very difficult to do, but that's what we're going to try to do. And Luis, that his role, we're going to make him feel like it's not that it's not important, but he's going to feel that the importance of that role.
Do you have an update on Sun Moon Song? I think there was a report that he was dealing with an oblique issue. Do you expect him to be ready for spring training, or what do you know about his situation?
Yeah, he's coming. He just had a baby, so he's taking some time off with that, to be with his family. But I think he's coming here to the States here relatively soon. Should see him. We'll be able to get eyes on him. We know he's been hitting. He's been working out. He's been getting treatment. We'll see where he's at when he gets here. Evaluate him, and I anticipate him. He'll be ready for spring training.
Would you like to go ahead and name an opening day starter?
No, I wouldn't. You know what? We've got a lot of opening day starters, so any number of those guys would be great.
How are Joe and Michael feeling physically?
They're feeling great. Like we had Camp 44 this week. Joe's kind of off-season get-together with all the pitching group. Everybody came in great and healthy. I watched Joe throw the other day, and I was like, dang, Joe, maybe need to slow down a little bit. But he's looking really good. Michael King's looking really good. I think we're very excited with the starting staff that we have at the moment.
How far along is Jason Adam in his progression recovery?
He's thrown off the mound. I think he's exceeding our expectations at the moment. Obviously, Major League Baseball players, elite athletes, they see a timeline and they want to beat it. You know, it's like a competitive fire that they've had since they were little kids, and you know, going through an injury and seeing a timeline, like, I'm better than that, I'm going to beat it, and that's his mentality right now. You know, obviously as a coaching staff and as a team, we've got to be, smart enough to work with the player and, keep him in a progression that we think is safe, and that will allow him to have the most success through the rest of his career, not just this season, but also, set him up for success, when we're really going to need him, and that's hopefully when we're, fighting for a division and make a playoff run.
One last question.
Managers have different takes on closers. What is it like for you knowing you have Mason Miller to run out there in the ninth inning on a consistent basis?
Feel pretty good about that one.